Professional racing has seen their fair share of bad boys over the years, but none stand out quite like that of Jason Lawrence. From flipping rental cars to winning championships, and even biting part of someone's ear off, the story quite literally has everything. But buried underneath all of the drama and chaos was a rider with pace comparable to future champions like Ryan Dungey and Ryan Villopoto. But for Lawrence, his off-track actions limited his career to a flash in the pan. This wild and dangerous tale of Jason Lawrence is coming up right around the corner. To understand how Jason Lawrence, or J-Law as his friends called him, fell from grace, let's start at the very beginning. As a standout amateur with Suzuki, Lawrence racked up some impressive stats, specifically at Loretta Lynn's Amateur Championship. 2004 saw him grab the 125 B Modified and 250 Open B Modified class victories. And in 2005, he beat Kyle Chisholm, Martin Davalos, and Brian Villopoto in the 125A Pro Sport class. His success up to this point was enough for Suzuki to bring him up to the pro ranks for motocross in 2005. In the 125 MX class, Lawrence scored 3 top 10s, but is most remembered for his practice fight with Chad Reed at the beginning of the 2005 season. While both sides have their own depiction of what happened, the end result was a fight between the Australian superstar and the new kid on the block. But this wouldn't be the last time that J-Law was in the spotlight for fighting. Not by a long shot. His motocross results were not fantastic, but enough for Suzuki to promote Lawrence to the 250 West Coast Supercross Championship for 2006. His season was highlighted by his first ever Supercross podium in Seattle, although he did miss 2 races and finished 11th in the championship. Not a stellar year, but a podium in your rookie season is something to be proud of. For motocross in 2006, Lawrence rode in the MX Lights class, but only managed 3 top 10s. At this point, Lawrence's speed and talent wasn't all that apparent, but 2007 saw him move over to Troy Yamaha, where the legends of J-Law's pace began to swirl around the paddock. He did lose the 2007 Supercross Championship by a good margin to Ryan Villopoto, but J-Law went from 1 podium in 2006 to 6 podiums in 2007, finishing second in the championship. As the season finished, Lawrence looked to continue his momentum into the motocross season, but in the first race of the season, Lawrence and Ryan Villopoto got into it in the first round at Hangtown. Lawrence and Villopoto had been riding dangerously near each other for most of the session, but tensions boiled over when Villopoto dismounted his Kawasaki and engaged in a fight with J-Law. Lawrence earned a $7,500 fine, a year's probation, and 40th gate pick for the race. Villopoto, on the other hand, only earned a $2,500 fine. The lesser fine for Villopoto likely comes as Lawrence was instigating the event, and Villopoto's sudden reaction was only in response to Lawrence's. But either way, Lawrence got the worst end of the deal. But this issue didn't really slow down J-Law, as he continued to ride well during the season and ended with 6 top 5 finishes and 2 podiums. For once in this story, Lawrence's actions didn't completely derail his career, but we'll get to that part later. While the outdoor season went decently well, 2008 put Jason Lawrence on the map. He finally put it all together in Supercross. He won 3 races in a row on his way to his maiden professional championship. He even bested a young Ryan Dungey to do so in the 250 West Coast class. This was his moment. All of the years of hard work had finally paid off. Lawrence had become a fan favorite, one that seemed destined to rise to the top of the sport. He was on top of the world. The run of good results carried into outdoors, where he landed on the podium at Glen Helen and Hangtown, but things would quickly take a turn for the worse in June of 2008. Round 3 of the outdoor season is about to begin at Freestone Raceway in Wortham, Texas. On Friday, June 6th, Lawrence, allegedly under the influence of drugs, borrowed a mechanic's rental car and totaled it in a crash. Lawrence himself was uninjured, but you would think that this would have stopped him from making any more bad decisions that weekend, right? But no, J-Law wasn't done there. Saturday night, Lawrence and his fellow competitor Josh Hill were allegedly drinking at a party at the pit bike track the night before the official races were set to begin. The tale goes that Lawrence and Hill had contact with the police, who handed them both MIPs, or minor in possession charges, for their underage drinking. Both riders earned a $25,000 fine from the AMA for their troubles and a year of probation. Both riders were still on the gate the next morning, although neither one of them rode very well, presumably because they were still recovering from the night before. But Lawrence was still not done with breaking the law that summer. While in Michigan for round 6 at Redbud over July 4th weekend, Lawrence was arrested for disorderly conduct for fighting with an unarmed individual at the track. With this, the AMA had finally had enough and suspended Lawrence for the entire entire 2008 season. His team, Yamaha of Troy, had no other option due to his poor behavior and released him. They terminated his contract immediately after the incident. In a very short time, J-Law had hit rock bottom. He had seen the peaks and valleys of a career in less than 6 months. But as luck would have it, Lawrence's talent landed him one more opportunity in 2009. Yamaha of Troy closed their doors at the end of 2008, meaning that Lawrence would not have had a ride even if he hadn't been dropped by the team. To get him back on the gate, Lawrence and his agent Scott Sokovich started a new team with several sponsors from the old Troy operation. They changed the Yamaha's colors away from the modest light blue to a mean-looking matte black, completing the Darth Vader-like transformation for the once promising Lawrence. They also signed veteran Nick Way to a 450 ride, hoping to eventually bring J-Law up to the premier class after 2009. Things got off to an okay start in the first 2 rounds, with finishes of 5th and 4th at Anaheim 1 and Anaheim 2, but quickly went sideways again due to an off-track incident. While the details of the night are murky to say the least, what is confirmed is that there was a physical altercation between Josh Hansen and Steve Boniface in which Lawrence was involved. Reports also indicate that Chris Bloss and Troy Lee were at the fight. The story goes that Hansen and Lawrence went into Boniface's trailer to confront him. Lawrence was involved in the scuffle, attacking Boniface with Hansen and even hitting Troy Lee, who was trying to break the fight up. As a result, J-Law sat out of the night show due to food poisoning, according to his team's press release, but that was an obvious cover for the incident. Following an investigation, the AMA handed Lawrence a 2-race ban for his involvement. With his championship defense effectively over with the suspension, the team decided to move him up to the 450 class for the remainder of the season following his suspension, and his first race back did not disappoint. On March 7, 2009, Lawrence lined up for his first 450 race in some of the strangest circumstances. The race took place at Daytona, but by this point he'd already been suspended multiple times and seemed to be more interested in fighting than racing. But on that faithful Florida night, he put it all behind him and finished second in the main event, leading laps along the way. This remarkable run stunned the industry, showing everyone just how frustrating it was to watch a guy with so much talent throw it all away because of poor behavior. He ran 3 more Supercross races that year in the Premier class and saw some success, but got into trouble in Jacksonville when the AMA suspended him again, this time for endangering Brock Helper. While no video of the incident exists, Lawrence's dangerous riding was severe enough to suspend him for the rest of the Supercross season. He would run a few outdoor races that summer, but didn't have much success outside of a 3rd place run at Washougal. But in typical J-Law fashion, there was another off-track incident towards the end of the season. On September 9th, 2009, Lawrence was sentenced to a year in jail after pulling a Mike Tyson and literally biting off part of his buddy's ear while the two were intoxicated. You literally cannot make this guy up. But even with jail time, Lawrence was released 4 months into his sentence and lined up for a few races in 2010 Supercross, trying to mount some sort of a comeback. But by this point, his party animal and bad boy persona had worn out its welcome. There was nothing left for the former superstar in the making. His actions had permanently damaged his reputation, and his constant suspensions made it difficult to keep up with his career. He has not raced professionally since September 4th, 2010, ironically 1 year after his original sentence was handed out. Making this video was an interesting task because of just how many suspensions I had to keep track of. In reality, J-Law's poor decision making turned what could have been a long and prosperous career into a flash in the pan. His talent on the bike is undeniable, but his criminal record was longer than the start straight in Phoenix. As for now, Lawrence has stated that he has no plans to return to racing, although if you want my advice, he should probably try fighting professionally. Lord knows he enjoyed that more than racing. But anyway guys, that's the wild and tragic story of Jason Lawrence's career. Let me know down in the comments who we should talk about next, and if you made it this far, please consider liking the video so that we can bring more content like this to the channel. We are so close to getting monetized, and thank you guys again for all the support. Also, does Lawrence win another title if he doesn't end up with so many off-track incidents? What do you think his ceiling truly was? It's a question that we'll never know the answer to, but I want to hear what y'all have to say. Thank you guys so much, and we'll see you guys again in the next video.